I want you to think about for a second, sitting down with the most powerful, most accomplished, most beautiful, most in shape, most intelligent, plays all the instruments, speaks all the languages, knows all the math, knows history inside and out, just straight up blessed with all-knowing knowledge of everything under the sun, from experiences to the different things that the heart lusts for, right? Your humanism to hedonism and trying to fulfill that God-sized hole in your heart with everything under the sun except for God. Trying to fill an insatiable appetite. So King Solomon speaks about these things. King Solomon lived the greatest life of any human that has been said before him, after him. No one will ever acquire the life. No one will ever have all the pieces that King Solomon had, is what the book says. Not LeBron, not Putin, not the Rockefellers, nobody, dude. No one's going to be on the level of King Solomon, okay? So when you sit down and talk to King Solomon, he's got a couple things to say. Now, he doesn't address them to any one person. He addressed them to everyone. He wants to share his heart. It's as if King Solomon was sitting at Starbucks and you pop up a chair and have a cup of coffee with him. And King Solomon starts spitting out meaning of life, vanity, 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 it's all vanity. So you start learning from him. You see, there's so many people, Lex Friedman, Joe Rogan, these guys that are interviewing everyone under the sun except for a believer in Jesus, except for someone who has a tether outside of this world, outside of the things under the sun, to something greater, God. You see, Lex Friedman and Joe Rogan, they are chasing the insatiable appetite that King Solomon speaks about. They are trying to accomplish a mere fraction of what King Solomon speaks about. And yet people are resorting to Joe Rogan and Lex Friedman, who are, in my opinion, a fraction, just 1% on the level of King Solomon. So if you're going to listen to anyone, you should listen to King Solomon. Let him say it to you. What do people gain from all their labors at which they toil under the sun? No one remembers the former generations, and even those yet to come will not be remembered by those who follow them. Can you really say what your great-grandfather loved to do, favorite food was, best season of the year for him, how he met his wife, favorite color, sport he played, favorite song? Can you say anything? Do you know anything about your grandfather? Wisdom is meaningless, says Solomon. I, teacher, was king over Israel and Jerusalem. I applied my mind to study and to explore by wisdom all that is done under the heavens. What a heavy burden God has laid on mankind. I have seen all the things that are done under the sun. All of them are meaningless. A chasing after the wind. You ever seen a dog chase its tail? Where's it go? That's chasing the wind. What is crooked cannot be straightened. What is lacking cannot be counted. Look, how many of us try to be the line leader in life? How many of us try to be the proctor? How many of us try to be the crossing guard? You stop. You think this way. You go over there. You knock that off. So there's a bunch of us trying to regulate others. What Solomon is saying is, what is crooked cannot be straightened. Look, these people don't want to change, bro. And what is lacking cannot be counted. Nah, if it ain't got it, ain't got it. He's trying to fill people. He's trying to help people. It don't work that way, dude. It don't work that way. That's a humanism approach. You're trying to make things better. You're trying to make things grow. You're trying to influence your way. See, Lex Friedman and Joe Rogan, these guys are humanists. They're trying to give themselves to instill greatness upon others. Dude, it's meaningless. For with much wisdom comes much sorrow. The more knowledge, the more grief. Lex Friedman, let that sink in, dude. Jordan Peterson, man, you guys think you're so smart, but you edge God out with your ego. Pleasures are meaningless, says King Solomon. Come now, I will test you with pleasure to find out what is good. But that also proved to be meaningless. Laughter, I said, is madness. And what does pleasure accomplish? I tried cheering myself with wine and embracing folly. My mind still guided me with wisdom. I wanted to see what was good for people to do under the heavens during the few days of their lives. I undertook great projects. I built houses for myself, planted vineyards. I made gardens and parks and planted all kinds of fruits and trees in them. Look, he did stuff with purpose and it was still meaningless, he said. I denied myself nothing to my eyes desired. I refused my heart no pleasure. My heart took delight in all my labor, and this was a reward for all my toil. Yet when I surveyed all that my hands had done and what I had toiled to achieve, everything was meaningless. A chasing after the wind. Nothing was gained. Look, there's a God-sized hole in your heart, and you cannot fill it with properties or wine, women, partying. Look, you can't fill it with more business deals, with more knowledge, intellect. You can't fill it with more likes, more videos. That's not it. Then I said to myself, the fate of the fool will overtake me also. Stupid people die the same as smart people, you guys. 1 and 1 dies last time I checked. What then do I gain by being wise? I said to myself, this too is meaningless. For the wise, like the fool, will not be long remembered. The days have already come when both have been forgotten. Like the fool, the wise too must die. The rotary phone. The rotary phone was the iPhone back in the day. When it rolled out, it was brilliant. It was so sick. Just because it's obsolete now doesn't mean it didn't serve a vital purpose. Doesn't mean it didn't serve a point in time. But it will be forgotten. It's meaningless. But think about how people worshiped the rotary phone back then. Think about how people thought they were going to be remembered forever. Who invented the rotary phone? Alexander Graham Bell? I don't even know. That's the point. Time for everything. There is a time for everything and a season for everything under the heavens. There's a time to be born, a time to die. A time to plant, a time to uproot. A time to kill, a time to heal. Whatever has already been and what will be has been prior. And God will call the past to account. You see, what do workers gain from the toil? God has set for us work. We are to work it to keep it. That's what it was said in Genesis with regard to the garden. You see, Adam was placed in the garden to work it and keep it. Work was not sin. Work is a good thing. Your body, if you don't use it, you lose it. You have to work your body to keep it. Look at the amount. Look at how many people are out of shape. Statistically, 2/3 of people are out of shape. Statistically, 1/3 of kids are out of shape, obese. If you don't use it, you lose it. If you don't work it, it dies. If you work it, you keep it. Your faith has to work it. You have to work it to keep it. Your bed, your house, your home, you have to work it to keep it. Your land. Sin turned work into toil. Toil is much different than work. I honor my body, so working out's easy for me. People always wonder, why is it so easy for you to do those things? It's not. I just love it. It's different. And that's a choice. You see, happiness is temporary. Happiness is a vapor. Happiness is short-lived. Contentness, on the other hand, that's a mindset. Contentness is everlasting. You're content. Don't be chasing happiness. Happiness is vanity. And I saw something else under the sun. In the place of judgment, wickedness was there. In the place of justice, wickedness was there. I said to myself, God will bring into judgment both the righteous and the wicked, for there will be a time for every activity, a time to judge every deed. He's getting to something here. You see, there's a purpose in the life lived under the sun, so long as you are tethered to something outside of that. You have an anchor to something outside of that. So if you were swimming in the ocean, you've got to have a cord connected to dry land to pull you out of the water, is what this is saying. You cannot just survive under the sun. Life is terrible. Life sucks without purpose. What King Solomon is saying is that since God is always watching and God is all-knowing and is able to be present at all things in your heart, I might be present with you doing something, but I don't know the actions in your heart. God's present in your heart with those actions and therefore judges accordingly. So if all men had God in their heart, their conscience would prevent them from doing evil. And we would really no longer need police. God provides you purpose. Where work is okay, no longer toil. Purpose is something that makes you go. Purpose is something that keeps you alive and growing and connected. I heard it this way. A life lived without purpose is meaningless. An airline company wanted to build a new airplane. So they took the approach of having two different groups construct the airplane. Group A was given a set time, a set pay, a set bit of instructions, go build the plane. Group B was given a whole bunch of image, a whole bunch of purpose and direction. And here's what we're going to do, you guys. We're going to build the best plane that goes the farthest on the least amount of fuel, that can take the most passengers. We're going to use brand new cutting edge materials. We are going to think outside of the box and challenge every bit of aviation science that we know. We are going to, with the completion of this project, allow people who would have never been able to afford to fly a seat on this plane to go see their loved ones and their family members. This will be the single greatest achievement in the aviation realm when accomplished. The second group, given all this vision, given all this, let's just say, detail and purpose and a open plan where they felt that they were a part of something. Not only did that group finish the plane sooner, not only did that group build a better plane, not only did that group accomplish the task and then some. They had better retention. They had a higher morale. Group A, a lot of them quit. Didn't even finish the project. They found a better job because everything was so finite. Everything was so cookie cutter. They were just able to replace it. Group B, they didn't even look for a new job because they felt a part of something, that they were doing something. They were changing history. They had a purpose, you see. What the airline company proved was that people do a different job, do a better job, have more involved when there's purpose. What King Solomon is saying is that without God, everything under the sun is meaningless. There is no purpose to it. A lot of us compare each other by sin. My sin's not as bad as that, dude, so I'm doing all right. Where does that end? Where does that's so dangerous, because you're just going to continue to elevate in your sin, becoming more tolerant to it. No different than a person who drinks one beer his first time and gets a buzz. Falls in love with it, drinks 2 beers, 3 beers, 4 beers. Pretty soon, he can drink a 12-pack and literally be sober. Now, he's got a blood alcohol content of whatever. But my point is, he became tolerant to the beer. As you become tolerant to the sin, you can absorb more of it without it showing its signs, without it affecting you, without it giving you your buzz. So at what point in time is your sin not as bad as the next guy's, where everybody's sin is so egregious, you're Sodom and Gomorrah? It's just terrible, 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 because there's no purpose, there's no meaning to anything outside of God. Under the sun, there is no meaning to this life. That's what King Solomon is saying. The guy who had everything, the guy who was the most beautiful, most wealthy, most accomplished, most wise man on earth from history to now. From nothing till now. You gotta listen to this dude, man. This is some smart stuff. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to break this stuff down. He says, don't fear though. It's okay, because God, being tethered to God, is your out. Being tethered to God gives you meaning. Being tethered to God gives you purpose. For who knows what is good for a person in life during the few and meaningless days they pass through like a shadow? Who can tell them what will happen under the sun after they are gone? Wisdom. A good name is better than a fine perfume, and the day of death better than the day of birth. It is better to go to a house of mourning than to go to a house of feasting, for death is the destiny of everyone. For living should take this to heart. The living should take this to heart. Frustration is better than laughter, because a sad face is good for the heart. The heart of the wise is in the house of mourning, but the heart of fools is in the house of pleasure. It is better to heed the rebuke of a wise person than to listen to the song of fools. It is hard to take in what King Solomon is saying, what he's saying. It seems so doom and gloom. It seems so terrible, like this life is just not worth living. But I'm telling you, when he switches, when he understands the purpose of God, and when he brings that to light, it's incredible what King Solomon came up on. And it's incredible to me that a man of his prominence, of his wealth, did so. But that's the Bible for you. That's where God uses us, because without King Solomon, we wouldn't have this. And without King Solomon's honesty, we wouldn't have this. Honesty is something we're losing today. It's not easy to see God work in people's lives when people aren't honest, and nobody wants to expose the dirt, which is where you really see God work. People are falling away from the faith. People are not interested in Jesus because they just see so many hypocritical Christians talk one way, do another. Yeah, it's because the honesty is gone. People are just too worried about their vanity. They're too worried about their image. They're too worried about the way they look in order to share the realness, in order for people to put 2 and 2 together and go, wow, okay, I get it. Man, when you leave out a digit, when you leave out one turn in the directions, you're not getting there. You're not going to make it. Man, why didn't you show up? Bro, you gave me the directions, but it wasn't right. Man, read me back the directions. Oh, right here and left there and right here and right there. Oh, man, I forgot to tell you to turn left on Mountain. That would have helped. Details are crucial. Details are crucial. Conclusion of the matter. Not only was the teacher wise, but he also imparted knowledge to the people. He pondered and searched out and set in order many proverbs. The teacher searched to find just the right words, and what he wrote was upright and true. The words of the wise are like goads, their collected sayings like firmly embedded nails given by one shepherd. Be warned, my son, of anything in addition to them. Of making many books there is no end, and much study wearies the body. Now all has been heard. Here is the conclusion of the matter. Fear God and keep his commandments. For this is the duty of all mankind. For God will bring every deed into judgment, including every hidden thing, whether it is good or evil. Every time you did something evil, it's recorded. Every time you did something good, it's recorded. Every time you did something for selfish gain and you were paid for it. Every time you did something for a selfless purpose, no pay whatsoever, rewarded. There is a lot to this life believers don't quite understand either. Faith alone gets you into heaven. Faith alone, Christ alone. But that's a lot different than being a disciple. Discipleship is not the same as your salvation. What you do here on earth in this life, which is but a vapor, lays up riches in heaven. There is no works that gets you into heaven. There's no works. No one's up in heaven gloating about what they did and how they did it to get there. Faith alone gets you into heaven. That punches your ticket. What you do here on earth, selfless acts in the name of Christ for the people of Jesus. Put on your heart. You are put into a situation for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. There is something going on in your life that you can do. That's God knocking on your door, giving you a chance to get in on his kingdom. You don't have to. That's the choice. That's the free will we were given. You don't have to get in on his work. He allows you to. And when you do, you get paid for it. Not here. Ain't no one going to know your name here. You get paid up there. So Joe Rogan, Lex, Jordan Peterson, all these guys laying up riches here. And like King Solomon said, he was so butthurt that he worked so hard his whole life to amass all these riches just to leave them to his son, who his son pissed it all away in 1 year. King Solomon had every right to be butthurt about leaving his stuff to his kid. His kid trucked it all in 1 year. But he was dead. Who cares? That's this life, man. You don't take nothing with you. If your identity is in all the things you've acquired, what happens if someone takes it away from you? You can't take my faith, bro. You can't take the love I have with Jesus and my wife and kids. Like, okay, you can take my wife. You can take my kids. They're not mine. I don't own them. They could be taken from me. House can burn down. It's not mine. Checking account can be closed. World could shut the power off. Who are you without your stuff? Because there ain't no hearse connected to a U-Haul. You don't get to take none with you. Having God dictate your life and run your life by submitting the authority to God brings peace, brings joy, brings purpose. Because he asks you two things. He says, love your neighbor as you love yourself. Go out and make disciples. Cool. That's what I got to go do today. I got to love my neighbor as I love myself, which is my wife, my kids. Those are my closest neighbors. And then I have my next door neighbors. And then I have my family. You just got to love who's in front of you, bro. That's your neighbor. Work, not toil, because it's all God's. I mow my neighbor's lawn because that's God's lawn. He don't mow it, so I did. Who cares? You don't even say thank you, but I don't do it for that. God says the meaning of life is love God with all your heart, all your mind, all your strength. That's the meaning to life. The purpose is to love and go out and make others. Just teach others, help others, shape others to understand God, because it's not something that's so easy. This ain't so easy. Understand how to play the piano is not easy. You look at my videos, I can play the piano. I'm a hack. I also know a little bit about Jesus, but I'm just a hack. I'm not a pastor. Go get a church. Go find a good church. Go get linked up on some nice online programs. Man, there's some incredible stuff online. What I would like to end with, the hedonism mindset is eat, drink, and be merry. You only live once. Live it up. No regrets. I've been there. That's not it. That's not purpose. That's not meaning. And man, the more you help people, you realize that people don't really want to be helped. And it gets frustrating. So the humanistic approach is tough too. So whether you eat or drink, or whatever you do all the glory of God. That's 1 Corinthians 10:31. Here's the thing, you guys. John the Baptist was straight edge. He didn't drink. He didn't smoke. He didn't eat anything but raw honey and crickets. He never did anything impure. He was so letter perfect. Jesus, on the other hand, glutton, drinking, eating, hanging out in the bars, the brothels. Whether you go this way or go that way, it's about Jesus in your heart. It's in your heart. You don't have to be this stiff. I don't know who made this up, but you don't have to be a stiff to believe in Jesus. When you start believing in Jesus, your actions and your mindset will start to change. Let that happen. Let God chip away the things he don't like and let him bring in things that he does. He's not going to make you a stiff, bro. I can hear it in these songs by like Kane Brown and by some of these rappers like, I'll give up anything I got to give up if I can have you. See, women have such a strong power in a man's life that they're almost willing to do anything for her. But if a man can't change for himself, his wife ain't going to change him. One of the biggest fallacies, one of the biggest assumptions that is just totally wrong about marriage is that you're going to balance each other out. Like your shortcomings are going to get absorbed by her strengths and vice versa. Marriage, it amplifies, it shines a spotlight on those shortcomings. It don't cover them. So it's a choice in your heart to be married. A wedding ring is a symbol, but it's in your heart if you're married or not. If someone's not there watching and you take a wedding ring off, is my point. Being married to God, changing your ways for God, is like submitting to a good woman and changing your ways to a good woman. I'm not going to hang out with those friends anymore. I'm not going to go to those bars anymore. I'm not going to call the... Dude, you change. You want to. You desire to. It's not hard. It's not toil. It's just work. Because work's everywhere. Work's everywhere. You got to brush your teeth. You got to wipe your butt. You're just going to take a poop again. Got to make your bed. You're just going to sleep in it again. There's work everywhere to keep it. Man, work ain't toil. But it's got to be focused around God, or it is. Just like the first group building those airplanes. That was just work. There wasn't any purpose. There wasn't anything beyond it. So it was lame. Let that sink in. If there's nothing beyond this life, then it's lame. Why do it? Why work hard? Why? Why try? And that's where you get a lot of people defeated. That's where you get a lot of people quitting. So many people afraid of death. They can't live. So many people afraid to die. They've been living like they're dying. Ain't living at all. So many people afraid of failure, they don't even get started. Most people are so afraid of public speaking, they choose death over public speaking because they don't want to be heard saying the wrong thing and look stupid. That's the ego, you guys. That's the ego. Get over yourselves. You're not that great. Solomon says so. He said he ain't that great. And he was the baller of all Shakalas. So here's what's up. I look forward to reading about Joe Rogan, Lex Friedman, Jordan Peterson one day saying these same things because they're starting to understand it for themselves and using their platforms to let that reign. If they don't, still a choice. Just a chasing of the wind, you guys. Just a chasing of the wind. You've got to find purpose, and the only purpose is in Jesus. I love you. Peace.